The draft is done. We already seen how rosters are breaking out. Everyone's at their max capacity. We're going to be heading into OTAs if we haven't already, and we're already making our way towards training camp. All of this is going to show you who is under the most pressure come the 2025 season in the NFL, and we have some great selections, whether it's people that are new contracts like Myles Garrett and Brock Purdy, or first-time starters like J.J. McCarthy, who's stepping in after Sam Darnold is now in Seattle, or a plethora of other people who just haven't fully achieved to their draft profile or contract numbers, all this and more. We are going to break that down for you right now. And guys, I have a hot take, and I want to get into it right now.
Oh, no.
Hot take right off the bat. And I went round for round on this, right? And I think when we talked about the wide receivers of the 2024 draft, none other was hyped up more and talked about as a trade-up candidate more than Marvin Harrison Jr. And Marvin Harrison Jr., out of all of the wide receivers I'm about to name, Brian Thomas Jr., who is pick 23, Malik Neighbors, who is pick 6, Ladd McConkey, who is pick 34, and Xavier Worthy, who is pick 28. All right? All outperformed Marvin Harrison in every statistical category except for drops. It was that bad for Marvin Harrison. Here's some numbers. Marvin Harrison Jr., when targeted, 54.4 completion percentage. Brian Thomas Jr., 67.4. Malik Neighbors, 66.5. Ladd McConkey, 73.4. Xavier Worthy, 68.4. All of them 10% or better than Marvin Harrison Jr. Total yards, 885 for MHJ. Brian Thomas Jr., 1,282. Ladd McConkey, 1,149. Malik Neighbors, 1,204. Xavier Worthy, 95. The only wide receiver that I haven't mentioned here, all right, played for the Bears, drafted out of Washington. I'm not even going to mention his name. Fuck it, I am. Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze is the only wide receiver taken from pick 34 down that didn't outperform Marvin Harrison Jr., and we kind of expected it to go that way because of the rookie quarterback and the offensive scheme for the Chicago Bears. You look at the yards per target, 7.6 for Marvin Harrison Jr., 9.6 for Brian Thomas Jr., 7.1 for Malik Neighbors, 10.2 for Ladd McConkey, and 8.1 for Xavier Worthy. All of these players had a 95 QBR or higher. 3 of the 4 had a 109 QBR or higher when targeted. Marvin Harrison Jr., 88.5. The only thing he let in was drop percentage. 1.6 when targeted. He had 1.6 drop percentage. Every other player had a 6% drop percentage or higher. It is absolutely incredible that that's what he did. But, we looked at Marvin Harrison Jr. in college. What did he do really well? Oh, he was a twitchy route runner. Sometimes, did a little too much at the line of scrimmage against press. Needed to work on that a little bit. But he was, a savvy route runner, could generate separation, had tons of yak. I think he averaged like 4.6 yards after catch, in his 2023 season in college. It was about 3.1 before that. He actually only averaged like 1.6 yards after catch in his rookie year, right? So Marvin Harrison Jr., pick number 4 in the 2024 NFL draft, this hyped prospect, right, has a lot of pressure to live up to that hype. I mean, no one who watches this video, no one in the NFL world can say, "Oh, I knew Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be a bust when I saw the tape. I knew it," right? The guy could do everything you want to do in contested catch, could run every route you wanted him to run, and could win in any matchup you wanted him to win in on tape, on film for Ohio State. Bar none, hands down, the best wide receiver. There's a reason that there were people who were estimating that he wouldn't come out in the 2024 draft because he was going to probably make something like $25 million in NIL. These are underachieving numbers, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is absolutely under pressure because he was touted as the new number 1 in Arizona. Now, whether you believe that's offensive coordinator issues, whether that's, Kyler Murray problems and he's playing too much COD, whatever it may be, the problem is that when you were only catching 54.4% of your targets and your contested catch percentage is one of the lowest out of these 5 names I listed, second lowest, I might add, these 5 names I listed, you are 100% under a lot of pressure. You have to perform. You were touted as an instantaneous walk-in, almost top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. And you got outperformed by 4 people drafted after you. And I will tell you right now, you tell me Malik Neighbors had better quarterback play than Marvin Harrison Jr.? Absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely not. Outperformed him. Now, granted, Ladd McConkey, I think that the quarterback play for Ladd McConkey was slightly better. I think that Brian Thomas Jr. is arguable because half the time he was playing with Mac Jones, the other half the time he was playing with Trevor Lawrence. So 50-50 toss-up on the day. And Xavier Worthy, you can't say that quarterback sucks because that's fucking Patrick Mahomes. But still, Kyler Murray's not a bum. The guy's got a cannon, and we did see a few routes where Marvin Harrison Jr.'s streaking down the field wide open, doesn't get the ball. Every wide receiver you could throw on tape for that. Maybe not a Patriots wide receiver, but just about every other wide receiver in the league, you can throw on some tape for that. Okay? But I want to open up to the panel right now because I feel like maybe I'm getting on this high horse too soon with Marvin Harrison Jr., but that's legit pressure.
Yes.
No,
yes, I 100% agree.
Yeah, no, you talked about it, Joe. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., like you talked about it, this was not like a regular prospect, like a regular number one receiver prospect like we had this year in the draft where it was like, Ted McMillan or Matthew Golden, whoever you thought was the number one receiver prospect. Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out, especially with the pedigree, especially with the fact that he's a junior of a receiver who's already in the Hall of Fame and what we saw from him at Ohio State, especially even as a freshman. We were talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. his freshman year, how we're talking about Jeremiah Smith right now as when he was a freshman. We were talking about them in the same exact regard. So again, the fact that he comes out last year and puts up the numbers, like you said, where he's maybe not even a top 5 rookie wide receiver last year, and people had him potentially being a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL last year. That speaks to your point, Joe, where he is going to be under immense pressure this year. And again, they didn't add many wide receivers this offseason either in Arizona. So again, they're saying we're betting on Marvin Harrison Jr. to have that bounce back season that he's going to really need. So again, I see your point there. But Joe, I'm going to go next because I want to build on your point of the 2024 draft class. And my player is also in the 2024 draft class. But let me just say, okay, Joe, I'm not going to give Joe credit very often on this show, but I do enjoy this question. I do enjoy this topic because you can go a bunch of different ways with this topic. Like you just mentioned, Joe, there's a bunch of different guys under a bunch of different types of pressure. Like there's established quarterbacks like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, who they're already, 1 through 4 range best quarterbacks in the NFL, but they're under tremendous pressure to win a Super Bowl this year. Like those guys are under the most pressure to win a Super Bowl this year, bar none. Then you have guys who have pressure to live up to their contracts. Like you mentioned, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Justin Herbert, those guys who all got paid, who need to live up to their contracts. And then you guys have other quarterbacks who pressure to perform well enough to still be in the NFL, like Anthony Richardson or Justin Fields, guys like that who are trying to battle to see if they can still be a starting quarterback in the NFL. But for a lot of those guys above, outside of Allen and Lamar, my expectations are lower than it is for this guy because the man who I have the most pressure this year, and it's because I think he needs to perform up to the expectations that were set for him as a player, is Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Listen, this guy was a generational prospect, ladies and gentlemen. And that term is thrown around too much. We've talked about that on this show a lot. It's thrown around too much. But this guy, he makes throws that even the best quarterbacks in the NFL can't make. Like the throws that he makes off platform, the throws that he makes roll into his left, the kind of arm that he has, the kind of mobility that he has. This guy is one of the most talented players in the NFL, let alone one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. And there's no two ways about it. He was bad last year, and he was disappointing last year. Now, again, was the coaching staff horrible? Yes, of course the coaching staff was horrible. Was the running game bad? Yeah, the running game was bad. Was the offensive line bad? Yeah, the offensive line was bad. But again, you watch Caleb Williams play last year, he wasn't good either. Again, 2 things can be true. 2 or 3 different things can be true. All those things can be bad too, and he was also bad. Caleb Williams was not good last year. He had similar numbers to Drake May Drake May had a far worse supporting cast than Caleb Williams had last year, and they had very similar numbers and ended up with a similar record last year as well. So again, and Drake May was the number 3 overall pick too. So again, and obviously in the 2024 draft that we're talking about. So again, Caleb Williams has to perform this year, and now there is literally no excuses because of what we've seen from the Chicago Bears this offseason. They add Colston Loveland in the first round, 10th overall pick, the tight end, one of the best receiving weapons in the draft, let alone receiving tight ends in the draft. You had Joe's boy, Luther Burden, who Joe has as the best route runner in the draft in the second round. Then you go and get Ozzie Trapilo, another offensive lineman in the second round as well, to add to that depth on the offensive line. To the offensive line, basically, that they already improved with Jonah Jackson, with Drew Dahlman, and with Joe Tooney, obviously, who's a potentially Hall of Fame guard in there for the inside for the Chicago Bears as well. So again, you dramatically upgraded the offensive line. You have a really, really good wide receiver and tight end core with Colston Levin, with DJ Moore, with Romo Dunze. Now you got Luther Burden in there as well. And then the big one is you go and get Ben Johnson, who might be the most creative and best offensive play caller in the NFL. So again, and I think the defense is going to be better this year in Chicago as well with the offseason additions they made as well. So again, if Caleb Williams doesn't perform this year, everyone is going to be on his ass. And it's because, again, the expectations that came with him, and he's not the most likable guy in the world. Like, his personality's a little bit out there. He's a little bit different. He's not the most likable guy. People love to hate on Caleb Williams. So again, they're looking for an excuse to hate on you, Caleb. They're looking for a reason to tear you down. So again, if you don't go out there and perform this year, they will be on your ass 100%. So people are already going to be talking about him as a bust this year if he doesn't go out there and perform. So again, I think he is going to perform this year. I think the Bears are a real threat to win that division and potentially make a playoff run. But if he doesn't, there is going to be hell to pay for Caleb Williams in Chicago this year. So I think he's under the most pressure in the NFL.
Don't we think that there should be a little bit of pressure on Ben Johnson too? And,
sure.
and let me explain why. Ben Johnson literally stayed another year. He literally picked his own cards. Like this, he wanted to be the highest paid head coach. Like this is a guy who literally was like, yeah, I'm not gonna go yet. Like, you know how much of it, like, I'm not saying that Ben Johnson has an ego, but clearly he believes in himself a lot, to the point where like he's willing to stay another year and be like, I don't like any of them.
Also, he could have went literally anywhere, and he chose this specific situation. Like, every single team wanted Ben Johnson, and he chose this spot. So again, if you come to this spot with this quarterback, with this amount of talent, and you don't succeed, and your offense isn't,
you have to.
Even if they don't succeed, let's say they go 7-10, but they have a Cincinnati Bengals season last year where the offense lights it up, but the defense is terrible. That's actually not bad for Ben Johnson, because at least the offense was successful, right? But if you come in and the offense is just as bad as it was last year, that's going to speak really, really negative. I don't think
organization. You can't take him off for having his first.
I get it, Chris. But here's my.
Do you not see?
Hold on. Time out. First of all, look. If the Bears went 7-10, I don't care how good their offense is. It's going to be considered a failure for the Bears. It's 1,000. It's a failure.
No, for the Bears, but for Ben Johnson individually, I don't think it would be, because again, he would come in and completely turn the offense around. He's not responsible for anybody think Ben Johnson's responsible for the defense? He's not responsible for the defense. But
yes, I do.
I think he should be a little bit.
He handpicked his staff. He picked the spot. Okay. He picked his staff. He said, "This is like, hey, I'm going out and I am literally setting myself up for success. Right? I'm going to do everything, get all the right things." He went out there and 100%. He handpicked every single thing he chose. He chose the spot, the people that are underneath him, all those things. If he doesn't succeed, or the defense is bad.
He picked it, but it's not his specialty. His specialty is the offensive side of the ball. So again, that's what I'm saying. Again, of course, he handpicked the staff, and of course, the defense should be improved this year. But again, if they have a great offense, right, and Caleb Williams looks great, and the offense looks great, and they're a top 5 offense, but say the defense is generationally bad, of course, that's going to be looked upon Ben Johnson a little bit. But again, I think they're going to be like, okay, they just got to swap the defensive coordinator, upgrade their defensive personnel, and then next year they're going to be in a better spot. So I think especially on the offensive side of the ball, they're both under tremendous pressure. Ben Johnson,
I think there's definitely something to be like there. A lot of eyes are going to be on Chicago. Like, there's no question about that. I wanted to real quick touch on Joe, what you said about Marvin Harrison Jr. Just real quick before we move on to Chris's point. Marvin Harrison Jr. this year, I don't think it has anything to do with him. It's him. I really don't. This past year, I really don't think it has anything to do with him. Throughout this past year, if you watch the Arizona Cardinals play and you watch the routes that Marvin Harrison Jr. was running, I kid you not, it was go routes. Just go routes. And if you ask any Cardinals fan that's why you don't see anybody like up in arms about Marvin Harrison Jr. Despite the fact that there are a lot of expectations. Marvin Harrison Jr. is running go routes right now, and that has to change. Offensive coordinator, I think his name is Drew Petzing. He's got to get it together and have Marvin Harrison Jr. actually get into his bag. I've seen Marvin Harrison Jr. perform at a high level. I've seen it. I know it can happen. It was against my Dolphins actually. So I know it can happen. I just think that Drew Petzing needs to unlock it. And if it's not him, then Kyler Murray. I mean, how many chances are we going to give Kyler Murray till the Cardinals eventually just go ahead and move on? You know, but you can go, Chris. I'm gonna go last.
Well, I thought Ben Johnson was yours.
Right,
No, it wasn't actually.
You went deep in your bag for that one. You were like,
No. I actually have another quarterback but I'll let Chris go actually.
all right.
Well, appreciate you, sir.
Of course, I'm a kind man.
So I do agree. I do think that Marvin Harrison Jr. should be under pressure, to be quite honest, and I do think it has a lot to do with where in the manner in which he was drafted, how much was put on as far as like everybody expecting him to be like ridiculously special, and then I'm sorry, but I do go back to the whole thing that happened after he got drafted and all of that nonsense that happened as far as his contract. That bothers me because we're going through that now again with the Bengals as far as like one of their draft picks doesn't want to sign their contract because of whatever. And like he made such a big deal about like they weren't even able to get out his jerseys until all of this matter was taken care of. I found that to be just astronomically ridiculous in my personal opinion. But anyways, I do think there should be some pressure on him for sure. I am glad that Ladd McConkey got some love because I got a lot of hate last year when I talked about how much I love Ladd McConkey. I got a ton of hate on it from IG everywhere. Nobody believes. Somebody told me I was smoking crack, all types of stuff because of how much I did.
I remember that. I don't know what that was about, man. That was crazy.
I don't either. I was really big on him. I thought he would have been a great fill-in for Stephon Diggs for the Bills. I thought that would have been an easy switch. They didn't take him for whatever reason. But I still I think now going back, maybe they might change their mind.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.